Welcome to Golf School, here to help you improve your golf game, no matter what level. Now, pull out your clubs and pick up your phone. Golf School with Jeff Warne is in session on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio.
Good morning and welcome to Golf School with Jeff Warne. Give us a call, 866-469-0026 here on this raw Sunday morning in the Northeast, and we'll help you improve your golf game. I am very pleased to be joined by a good friend of mine and top player and teacher, Mr. Patrick Walker. He's the co-founder of Mypro in the home of golf in St. Andrews, Scotland, where he's also a teaching professional and a playing professional as well on the Tartan Tour. Good morning, Patrick. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think we had you on the show very briefly 2 or 3 years ago over from Scotland. What have you been up to in the last few years?
Yeah, that's right. Back then when we had a little game, I think you took me down on that day. But I still distinctly remember you were 9 under. Your email was titled 9 under, yet 9 quid down. So I had one of my better days, both playing as well as pressing at just the right time, because I remember you shot 2 pretty good scores there on the Renaissance links, as well as where was the other place we played? Goodness, we played Kilspindie. It was
Kilspindie. Yeah, you were 9 under and lost a little money, so that was quite a day, and great to be with you. So what do you have going on there at the Mypro in St. Andrews?
Yeah, so I mean, we're Mypro Golf. We're a golf camp based at the home of golf in St. Andrews, working in partnership with the St. Andrews Links and basically providing the best training facility for junior golf. We run for 4 weeks each year. So this year coming up in July, we have our first camp, and we offer 3 different programs. So, looking at the different weeks, we've got a program for all different levels of golfers, basically.
Now, are these junior golfers?
These are junior golfers, yeah. So anything really between the age of 10 and 17 would bring them in. So week 1 is called our Players Camp, and that's essentially for your golf and fun. Lots of on-course games, lots of tuition. That runs for week 1 and 2. Week 3 is a very similar program, but it has an English elective. We obviously get a lot of international kids from all over Europe and generally all over the world, so Spain, Italy, Germany, and a lot of those children want to enroll in some English tuition. So we have that on offer.
So you're going to teach them English with a funny accent, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. But for the more, the native speakers, anyone we have come over from the US or from the UK, there we've just got pure golf options going all the time.
What sort of time frame? I mean, can they sign up for a 1-day or a 3-day, or how long? Can you give the different breakdowns of time?
Yeah, of course. Each camp runs for a week, and depending on where the kids are coming from, and obviously what their school holidays are, we have them coming in anything from literally 1 to 4 weeks. Some kids will come and they'll stay the entire time.
Could a child enroll for 3 days?
No, unfortunately. Well, we have some instances where, because of the timing, they only come for maybe 5 out of the 7 days or something like that. But yeah, it's a week-long camp, and it includes we take care of basically everything. We try to make the whole process as easy as possible. We know that a lot of kids are coming for the first time; they're traveling alone, so we're there to meet them as soon as they touch down at the airport. Number of staffs there in their uniform there to greet them, take their bags, help them out, and then kind of accompany them during the transfer across to the home to St. Andrews.
Now, tell me a little bit about the facilities. I know you've got a nice, wonderful building there. You've got a beautiful short game facility. I spent a little time there when I had a break between events once working on mine. What do you have to offer there in that facility?
Yeah, I mean, so the facility it's fantastic. It really is state of the art. So there's a huge short game area which you probably made some use of, and got really big, deep pop bunkers like the real deal. The ones you get on the old course. And then we've got obviously the indoor and the outdoor bays for practice. Within the indoor bays, there are all kinds of technology from TrackMan to force plates sand putt lab, biomechanics, and much, much more. So when we have the kids over, some of them obviously, again, depending on their ability, they're coming over, they really are looking to take their game to the next level. They want that kind of high level of coaching. That's available. Others want to come over for more of an experience, learn a little bit about golf, maybe learn how to play the links for the first time. Obviously it's a different style of golf, and just generally experience the excitement that is St. Andrews. Then we can offer for that as well.
Now, when I've, in the past, during school breaks, during the winters, my family and I have gone on a lot of ski trips where over the Christmas break or over the February break, and when they were very young, we would put them in ski school and we would go ski. And obviously then we would collect them at 4 o'clock or whatever, and they were showed, a great day on their own mountain or wherever. And as they got older, they were skiing far more advanced stuff than we were because they became quite proficient. But I'm curious if there was a way that you could set up where, the typical American might not be in St. Andrews for a week, but he certainly might be there 3 or 4 days, where if I had young kids, I could drop them off knowing they were going to get a taste of golf and something fun to do, as well as learn something about it while I went and enjoyed the great courses there as well. Is there anything at the moment, or can you tailor that if I wanted to do that? Can you set that up privately? Or it seems like it'd be a great mix of people traveling with their kids.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it really comes down to the situation. We've got a lot of parents that inquire, and they're kind of like you said, they're interested in knowing what they can do themselves.
I'm selfish. I'm not putting my kid on a plane by himself to go play in the home golf. I'm coming with him.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you for that. But, so, I mean, we're more than happy to spend some time with parents, basically helping to plan out their trip. Obviously, being based here and knowing the area pretty well, we've got a good idea of which courses they should be going to play, the ones that are easy to get to, but the ones that are really worth the trip as well. So we take some time to help set up tours for parents as well, more on a kind of in-kind basis, if you like, and just helping them to establish a bit of a fun holiday for them while their kid maybe comes and spends a bit of time at the camp and experiences, the home of golf and the great courses that surround it.
Now, what ability levels could you accommodate? Are we talking, 5-year-olds just learning the game, or are we talking advanced junior players hoping to play in college? Where are we in as far as ability?
Well, this year coming up, we will be able to accommodate basically any junior that's just receiving their first handicap, if you like. Now, in Europe, those handicaps can be much higher than in the US, so really any junior that's got experience of going on a golf course, all the way through to elite golfer wanting to turn pro at some point. With the more elite golfers that are looking at the kind of college option going forwards, there would probably encourage them to look more towards our final camp of the summer, which is targeted more at that level. So that has a different program. It's a little more intense, if you like, on the level of training. And it actually has a handicap limit. So we're looking at players of a handicap of 8 or better for that final camp. For the 3 camps before that, though, that's open to any junior with experience of being on a golf course. So we'll get all levels of golfers on those.
Now, I got to ask you the inevitable question that anyone who's been to Scotland is asking. So I send my kids over for that week, and I know this could shock you, and it's never happened to you or I, but what if it's raining and howling winds and really bleak weather that we can get over there as easily in July as we can in December?
Yeah.
The dirty little question.
We can get hit pretty badly sometimes, Generally on the East Coast, from the rain point of view, we're doing okay. We sometimes get a bit of a windier day, as you experienced, I'm sure.
Well, I was at the Open, I think, when they shut it down there. That was in July.
That's right, yeah. So we'll sometimes get hit by a windier day, One, it's great to learn to play in those conditions, but obviously if it gets too extreme, then we've got all kinds of things lined up. The town itself is such a special place. It's such a small, safe haven, but with everything packed into it, must be, just within about 2 miles. So away from the golf, we obviously don't want to over-golf the kids whilst they're here. So we make sure there are all kinds of other activities, from options with basketball, tennis, badminton, football, or soccer, as you guys know it, to cinema trips, to beach activities. So, I mean, there really is, if the weather takes a turn for the worse, then we can try and plot out what we're going to do for that time. But we've got loads of options there, with loads of things in place and ready to go.
Well, Patrick, and we're going to take a break here in a minute, but I kind of want to get started a little bit with instruction. With junior golfers, you're running a camp, you're seeing a lot of them, and obviously the locals you're seeing routinely. What do you feel is the most important when I might bring you my son who's 10 and, would like to get into golf and he's playing a little bit of the other team sports? How would you like that ideally to be introduced to him and maybe his first meeting with his coach? How would you like that to go, and what would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when working with juniors and kids, it really is all about fun. Too often you get kids dropping out of the game. It's become too technical, or it's become too much of a demand. You got to keep it light. You got to keep it fun, and you got to let them enjoy it as much as possible. I mean, from my experience, whenever you introduce a kid to the game of golf, the thing that they like most is hitting the ball as hard as they possibly can. And so often, you hear folks kind of saying, slow down, keep your head still, don't do this, don't do that. All these rules imposed on them within about 30 minutes of first picking up the club and wanting to whack a ball.
It's not just kids, it's adults too. We hit them with a lot of rules, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I want to, I always want to have games being run, little friendly competitions, little challenges. Let a child use a little bit more instinct a lot of the time as well. You stand there with a junior and you've watched them, progress and hit some balls. You ask them to hit a high shot or a low shot or shape it right to left, and they can do it with instinct. So it's quite interesting learning from them sometimes, and seeing how they just naturally go ahead and do things. But certainly I'll encourage them to just enjoy it.
There is no question that we definitely encumber people with a lot of rules. And in a typical golf lesson, with an adult especially, I might spend the first 10 minutes just as they warm up. I'll say, well, I just need to warm you up, kind of asking them what seem like casual questions, trying to find out what they're thinking of and what they're working on. And many, many of my lessons involve me telling them nothing new, just saying, okay, let's just not work on that thought. Let's just hit a ball, because they're working on keeping their left arm straight and their head down and their right ear back and their right butt cheek out to the left. And I'll go, okay, let's take that one out. And pretty soon they're just kind of hitting it, and they'll leave the lesson and go, man, you didn't really tell me anything. I'm like, well, I took away 4 things that were just really sort of freezing you up over the ball. So it is interesting, especially with kids, just to keep it fun and get, hopefully, so they don't go to that next teacher with 11 things that Patrick or Jeff gave them that create so much tension. So I think it's a great idea to just instinctively let them learn the game and maybe guide them a little bit, but try not to be quite so rigid in our instruction. Patrick, we got to take a quick break, but we will be right back to Golf School here on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio. Give us a call, 866-469-0026. Welcome back to Golf School with Jeff Warne. We're here to help you get better at golf, so give us a call, 866-469-0026. I'm here with Patrick Walker, founder of Mypro Golf Camp for juniors in the home of golf, St. Andrews. What a great place to be located. Patrick, great to be with you. We're talking a little bit about juniors and getting their start in golf. Tell me a little bit about how you learned how to play golf.
Yeah, I mean, I started when I was 11. I remember I was actually big into tennis when I was a kid, and my dad came home one day and just said he had picked up a back injury playing tennis, had to take a break from that, came home with some golf clubs one day and said, okay, let's give this a go, let's try some golf. So pretty quickly I got hooked. I fell in love with the game, and really it just went from there. Joined the local club. I used to kind of trek across the fields where I grew up, about 2 miles with my bag, walking through the farming fields to get to my golf course, play in any weather, work my way around, and couldn't get enough of golf basically, and it's had me hooked ever since.
Yeah, and there's no question. That's very, very similar to my golf background. I grew up, I was a swimmer, and then I was a baseball player. And then one day my neighbor came home and said, were you going to go play golf with me? And I was 11 as well. And he took me to play golf at this course, and we didn't hit range. We didn't get a lesson or anything. We just went right to the first tee, and, you're just topping it around. And a course with not a lot of hazards and not a lot of places you could lose a ball, and you could just add it up, and you could chart your progress. You could see how you were doing. And I think sometimes people get their kids started too early in golf, and they may well develop beautiful golf swings, but they may not develop that passion, especially if it's forced on them. I think 11 kind of is a late starter, and I always had the feeling in my junior golf, and I'm sure you felt that as well when you were 11, 12 years old, that you had a late start and you were catching up. But it kind of inspires you, because all these other kids that have been playing for 4, 5, 6 years or 7, their whole life, who are shooting very, very low scores. It kind of gives you a target to chase, and you're old enough sort of to make your own choices. So I never worry too much about people like, oh, he's 8, the ship sailed. He's been playing travel soccer now for 11 years, and he's only 8. It's amazing how much gets thrust on these very, very young kids. So I really don't have a problem with even as late as teens. I think it's good for kids to kind of get into it at their own pace, not the parents' pace.
Yeah, I would agree entirely with you there. I mean, the other thing that you tend to see is when someone comes to golf a little bit later, they've often spent a lot of time in another sport, and there's usually some element of kind of transfer there. So whether it's tennis, for myself, baseball for you, there's an amazing similarity with the way that the body moves during that kind of motion and how that actually really helps for your golf swing. So I think, like you say, a lot of the time when you get kids coming in, too young, they almost fall out of love with the game. They get a little tired of it, whether it's burnout or being pushed too hard, or maybe, like we said earlier, it gets a bit too technical or something along those lines. But often when they're a bit older, they have those skills that come through anyway, so their progression through the game tends to be pretty quick.
Right, no question about it. And those skills from those other sports, I know the first 5 times I played golf, I just lifted my left leg much like a baseball player, and took that step and hit the ball, and really didn't know any better till maybe the end of that summer. Somebody's like, you look at the better players, they're not lifting and stepping, but that's teaching you that weight transfer that we know as teachers. We use that drill quite frequently, so certainly not a bad introduction to the game. And the other thing is, you were talking about carrying your clubs and going to that golf course. You can't really tell a 5-year-old, okay, I'm going to drop you off and I'll see you, at 6 o'clock tonight, or you have to walk through these fields. And so they require so much more supervision, but we got into it at an age where we could, you got the summertime, you got the days to yourself, 11, 12, 13. Great time to sort of, takes an independent sort to go out on that golf course and maybe play 36 holes by themselves, or pick up whoever's around and just go to play. And you can't do that with a very young child. And I often see parents get frustrated because they'll show up at my club with their 4-year-old and they'll go, we're going to go out and play a quick 9. I'm like, no, you're not. You got a 4-year-old, he's going to be into this for maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30, and then one of you is going to get aggravated about the situation that they've been put in. So it can be dangerous with that. I'm not suggesting you don't start your kids young, but it needs to be in small doses when they're very, very young, so that they are left with the feeling of wanting more, not, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, absolutely right. Couldn't agree more there. I think, the key thing is to just let the child lead when it comes to doing what they enjoy. As soon as you try and push a child too much in one direction or another, at some point maybe they'll do it for a while, but at some point they'll often lose that love. They'll move out of the game, and that's a real shame. I think much better to just see where they want to take it, see what engages them, and if they've got that true desire to play and that passion, as you say, then that's going to come through. And they'll get serious about it if that's what they want to do.
Right, and of course I'm the ultimate hypocrite because my child started playing when he was 11 months. He found his sister's plastic putter and was playing with his right hand but swinging the other direction, left-handed, in a backhanded fashion. And, at 11 months you're not going to talk them out of how they're doing it. So he ended up playing golf left-handed. But frankly, now his number one love is soccer, or as you call it, football. And I think it's mainly because I don't play soccer. It's all the other sports I've coached him in and worked with him a little in golf, and that's why he's sort of into soccer, where he doesn't have the presence of his father kind of domineering and I won't say making him, but being very involved in it. And so each kid's got to find their way, and I think a little bit older child who, as you said, has been exposed to other sports, in my opinion, has a better chance of developing the passion for golf. And to get good at golf, you've got to spend a lot of time at it, and you've got to be not bothered by the fact that you might be by yourself for 8-10 hours between playing the round and practicing. Yes, it's a social game, but I doubt your friends are into being there for 10 hours if they're casual golfers. They might go play the round with you 18 holes, but they're not going to hang around and chip and putt for 4 or 5 more hours. And as a kid, you better find that fun and have a passion and to get really good at golf is what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, something just resonated with me there. You know, you were talking about needing to be happy, essentially, by yourself, practicing by yourself. And that's really, for me, it was one of the reasons that I moved away from tennis, because I really wanted to turn pro. I really wanted to take my game to the next level. I'd get frustrated in tennis because I wouldn't have somebody to hit with, so you'd run out. You want to be there for 6 hours, 7 hours, but nobody else wants to do that. And that's where I thought golf was great for me as a kid, because I could take myself to the course, I could join up with anybody there, go and play around, then there'd be somebody else waiting around on the tee, join up with them and go straight again. And that was my frustration with baseball. You needed 9 players to get out there. You certainly at least needed a catcher, and you had to have a willing. It worked out pretty good for me because my next door neighbor happened to be a catcher, so we would work quite a bit together. But he wasn't into doing it all day and playing pickup or whatever. And unfortunately, he wasn't a pitcher. Although I was a catcher, that would have worked out perfectly. We could have traded places. But you do have to find that person, that in those other sports who's willing to do it with you. For instance, now my son has a little trouble rounding up kids to go work on the soccer with him. There's plenty he can do on his own: penalty kicks, form, technique, dribbling, but you want that social component. That's the great thing about golf. It's unlimited as to how good you can get, and that's why we see people that aren't outwardly appearing to be great athletes, even though they are, can become great at golf because there's not a physical component holding them back. You can practice it for 10 hours. It would be quite hard to practice sprinting for 10 hours or to practice football for 10 hours. But golf, you can, because it's not so physically draining. It might cause a little bit of repetitive injury in your elbows or your back or whatever, but it's not like the other sports where you just would be physically exhausted if you put that much time into it. So you can make up a lot of ground if you're determined, especially where you live, where it's sunlight, in the summer. Goodness, till 11:30 at night.
Yeah, that's one of the best things out here. During the summer, you can be out on the course. I think the latest I've been out there is something like 11:30, coming down 18 and squinting a little bit, but you can make it out. So long as you hit it straight, then you're okay.
Yeah, well, Patrick, tell me again where the listeners can find you. What's the best way for them to reach you at your school? Yeah,
so we're just at www.mypro.golf. And there you can find all the information about the different camps, or anyone who wants to call us. We've got numbers on there, and we're happy to speak directly with any parents or kids or guardians that are interested in sending their kids across and hopefully giving them an experience of a lifetime. I mean, you've spent time in St. Andrews, Jeff, and it truly is, as they always say, a magical place. Anyone who loves golf is going to have the time of their life there, basically.
Yeah, and it's a great town as well. There's a lot going on, a lot of history there, and such a beautiful place. And obviously the golf is part of the community. It's not just this place you drive out like your typical country club. It's all, the town comes right into the golf, and you've got the learning center right there. It's just a really good way. I think it would be a really good fit for either to have your child who's very interested to go over on their own, or to accompany you while you might get to tour the great courses, and you might get to share some of that with them as well, but also some improve their golf with you at the camp. I think would be a great combination. Again, Patrick, it's been great having on your show. I really appreciate you taking the time out of the middle of the day over there on a Sunday, and thanks again.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was great to talk.
Okay, we will be right back to Golf School here on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio. Coming up next, Guy Yoakum from Golf Digest.